hate mail on it than anything. I'm going to give you a stat you're not even going to believe. You're not even going to believe about a player in the NFL. Somebody that is believable is Kevin Clark, NFL writer of The Ringer, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. Okay, listen, everybody ages different. And generally speaking, Kevin, if you take care of yourself, your mind, your body, you age a little better. And then there's those who are just naturally gifted. They get old and they fall off cliffs. And we've all had somebody in our life like that, a cousin, whoever. You know, Jay Glazer's somebody, I've talked to him about this on and off the air, which is Ben was not exactly known as a grinder in the offseason. And I watch him. Kevin, I don't see him turning it around. I understand the surgery, but don't they need a quarterback?
I looked at Ben's completion percentage chart today to look at what he was doing, and I felt like a scientist in a disaster movie. Like I wanted to run around screaming, "Look at this! This is the last thing you see before you die." He was 1 of 13 when throwing 10 yards down the field. He just looked awful. He couldn't complete passes in any meaningful way. I don't know what you do here. The Steelers, the NFL looked this up. The Steelers have now, as an 11-win team, no team has ever had 11 wins and lost to 2 teams as bad as the football team and the Bengals. It's never happened in history. So something is wrong. The 86 Jets had a similar situation where they started 10-1 and they ended up basically losing out. I just don't know how you fix this. Ben can't use huge chunks of the field. This is bad. I think the bar is so low for what they need from the offense with the skill position players they have and the fact they create turnovers at the rate they do. And TJ Watt's a superstar. Minka Fitzpatrick is a ball hawk, a top tier player. He only needs to do a little bit, and he can't do it right now. And I don't know how you proceed.
So I had Jimmy Johnson on yesterday, the Hall of Fame coach. I had Trent Dilfer on, who does all this quarterback stuff. And, Jimmy's like, I think I build a fortress and just give Darnold one more year. And then if it doesn't work, the next guy comes in with a real football team. Trent Dilfer's like, the gap between Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, I've seen him up close. It's not as great as you think. Okay, so they're not getting Trevor Lawrence. Your thought, your sources, your belief on what do the Jets do with the number 2 pick?
I think they do everything they can, and then they eventually take Justin Fields. So what I mean by that is the first thing they do is auction off the picks. Say, does anybody want to give us the Herschel Walker deal for the number 2 overall pick, some quarterback needy team? And then they look at the quarterback market. Is a Matthew Stafford going to be available, kind of a B plus, A minus type starter if there's a new GM coming into a bunch of these cities with old quarterbacks? What happens there? And then I think eventually you settle on Fields, because I think that, listen, a new coach is going to want answers at the quarterback position. Taking the tackle from Oregon sounds good in theory to build up the lines. Joe Douglas loves toughness. He helped that Philadelphia team build through the lines. But I think at some point they just need answers. I understand the impulse for Darnold to have 1 year in a competent coaching staff and an infrastructure that supports him. But I just don't think they're going to be that good next year either. So what do you know? You just kick the can down the road and you're in the same situation next year. I think you try to get that fortress. And I don't know if it's necessarily coming. And if you can't do it, do you just take Justin Fields and go from there?
So I've been saying this. Baseball's a lot of stat and history driven. Football's always been about just win games. And I think it's funny. So about 3 weeks ago, Ravens lost back-to-back, and the world bailed on Lamar Jackson. And I said, folks, he wins 79% of his games. He's younger than Joe Burrow. Okay, he's not perfect. Find me the guy that is. I think I could outrun Tom Brady today. What if the Ravens don't make the playoffs, and you're good at this stuff, the history, are they the best team to not make the playoffs? I can't think of anybody this good.
Well, they might be the most talented, especially roster-wise when you look at it in September. But this is an unprecedented season, Colin. I mean, you're looking at, listen, they basically had a month of the season wiped out due to COVID protocols, and they played a weird Wednesday game, same as the Steelers, by the way. It's been weird since then for them. And I just think that you sort of have to give them a little bit of a break in that sense. But it's not like they were setting the world on fire before. We saw them play the Chiefs, and they didn't get there. I think that the thing that Lamar Jackson still has, and it's something that I reported about last year, and I remember talking to guys in that locker room. They said when Lamar Jackson drops back to pass and starts accelerating forward, that you will see in linebackers' eyes or defensive ends' eyes, the defenders looking at their coaches and saying, I don't know what to do. I just simply have no idea how to process what's in front of me. And I think Lamar still has that. We saw that against Cleveland. We've seen that in flashes over the past couple of weeks. And so, yes, I think that somehow they're going to find a way to make the playoffs, even though there's just a lot of good AFC teams in the mix of that wild card. And I love what the Dolphins have done this year, and I love what the Browns have done this year. But I still think Lamar has that magic, and I think we got away from it a little too early. I think this is a really talented team.
Yeah. So, listen, the old saying is you are what your record is. Obviously, it's true. We have standings, but you're also what my eyes see. And we have a Kansas City team now that has had, you look at the numbers with New Orleans, 15 first downs, awful on third down, 42-18 deficit time of possession, and it's a field goal game. Sometimes, Kevin, the Chiefs were 7-4 in Week 11 last year. They didn't have a top 10 defense. Mahomes was like 18th in passer rating. I know they're great, but they trailed in all their playoff games. We've kind of anointed them a dynasty. And these dynasties in all these leagues never last as long. Seattle never got a second Super Bowl. I love Kansas City. But don't they look vulnerable in the last month and a half? Well, what do you see?
They look vulnerable when teams play perfect games and they still win. And so I don't think you can discredit that too much. I think that, listen, the Saints knew how to play Mahomes. They were dropping back. They were taking away those bombs. The pressure was as good as any pressure rate in football against Mahomes this year, and it ended up not mattering. Okay, Patrick Mahomes wins around 90% of his games since the start of 2019 when he's down 10 points. The NFL average is 18%. That is ridiculous. That is not normal, Colin. And what the Chiefs remind me of is a UFC fighter who can do it all. And they can play any type of game. And we saw that. Trey Hendrickson was getting in the Mahomes' face all afternoon. It didn't matter. All of a sudden, they're running power option to Lev Bell. They're not throwing these huge bombs. Mahomes can get pressured, and it doesn't matter. The UFC fighter who can punch or wrestle or do jiu-jitsu or whatever it is, they can handle it. And that's what I think impresses people most about Kansas City is they can win any type of game. I mean, even with the defense, they create turnovers. They knew exactly how to play Drew Brees on Sunday, even if in the second half it wasn't perfect. I understand the vulnerability, but at some point, doesn't your identity become that you can escape these things? I understand that at some point, a team like the Bills might make a play in the fourth quarter and reverse everything, or it could be like 2 years ago against the Patriots, where there's a jump off sides and all of a sudden they get screwed up. But I think their identity is they do impossible things. Patrick Mahomes makes the miraculous look normal every single year, every single week, and I think that at some point that becomes who you are.
Good stuff. Happy holiday. What's the next NFL game you're going to, Kevin?
It might be the Super Bowl.
All right. Well,
I don't know. I mean, it's a weird time to travel to an NFL game.
That's certainly it.
Because locked down.
Great seeing you. Great work. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Colin. Anytime.
So he gave you an amazing stat on Mahomes. Okay, that was an amazing stat. Mahomes wins like 85, 90% of his games down 10. The league average is 18. I will top it. Well, I don't know if it's better than that. It's darn close at the top of the hour. I just saw a stat this morning. It's insane.
Can you tell us what team it's about?
No, I can't. Be patient.
Okay.
Can't just give it up. You don't give up gems. I don't tell it during the gold rush. They didn't go, the gold's right here. Dig. Right. You have to wait to find the gold.
Patience is a virtue.
All right. Coming up next, it looks awful. And then I thought about it, and everything's going to be okay in Philadelphia. It is with the Eagles. That's coming up. If you're a business owner, you don't need to tell us that you're running a business right now is tough. We know it. It's tough for everybody. Tough for us. Harder. Obstacles. Don't let QuickBooks and spreadsheets slow you down anymore. Time to upgrade to NetSuite. Stop paying for multiple systems that give you old information, old software you've outgrown. You're better. Your company's better. Now's the time to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle, the world's #1 cloud business system, okay? NetSuite gives you visibility, control over your financials, your inventory, your HR, your e-commerce, everything you need all in one place instantaneously. Doesn't matter if you have a $10 million company, a $2 million company, a $100 million company. 24,000 companies are using it. They'll benefit your business with a free product tour at netsuite.com/herd. Schedule your free product tour, netsuite.com, HERD. Ditch the spreadsheets and all the old software you and your company have outgrown.